What's up, ladies and gents? It's Coach Morris, aka your favorite youth pastor. Once again, on another Wednesday night video. At this time and moment, we are going to do our happies and crappies. I know some of you like to participate, some of you don't. That's cool. I'm not going to force your hand to do it, but I do think it's very beneficial to see what God has done and what God is doing in and through your life. My happy, Megan and I have the opportunity through Second Chance Ranch to respite, or an easier term is kind of watch or babysit some teenagers this week. And we're doing this for a week, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome getting to know these kids and just spending time with them and showing them the love of Christ. So that is my happy, just be able to make a difference in somebody's life, or just to be able to make them smile or laugh for a little bit. My crappy, this weather is crazy. It'll rain 1 minute, and then the sun will be out and be 85, and the humidity's up. It makes me sweat. It's rough on a fat kid, all right? But anyways, so that's my happy and crappy. I encourage you to either do that with your family, do that with your friend, post it in the comments, whatever you choose to do. I'm not going to force your hand. But I think it would be beneficial, like I've said probably 4 times now. But anyways, this past Sunday we started this process of how to witness, and this video is going to be part 2. In the past video, we learned the 3 steps or the 3 keys or guidelines, or however you want to put it so it makes sense to you. But that is to get to know the person or get to know the people you're trying to witness to. Plant the seed, and they have a time of listening and response. So in this video, we're going to break it down, and we're going to get very practical with it. So let's get started. So the first thing into witnessing, or telling others about your faith, or telling others about what you believe in and why you believe it, your morals, your values, your ethics, where they come from, that is through getting to know somebody. Actions speak louder than words, but you don't get to see those actions unless you get to spend time with that person. So time is a very key aspect of getting to know someone. And as you're getting to know someone, you ask them questions. You get, not just the simple small talk, how you doing, but really truly try to get to know that person. Try to get to know what they like to do. Some questions to ask are their hobbies. What are their hobbies? What do they like to do on their off time? What are some of their interests? Are they married, or do they have kids? What is their job, or what jobs have they worked before? What is their career? What is their dream career or dream job? You almost, in a sense, as you're getting to know someone, it's almost like a first date. You like that person, you get to talking to them a little bit, and you finally go out, whether it be to a dinner and a movie, and during that first date, you really kind of get to feel for each other, the vibe for each other, like if you're kind of compatible with them, that's kind of the same thing of getting to know somebody. Maybe the dating analogy is probably maybe not the best, but in a sense it's like that. As you get to know, as you're getting to know people, or getting to know the person you would like to share your faith with, ask them that question, ask them questions, and kind of start finding that common interest you have with them, so that you can better witness to them. Because if you're a total stranger, or if you're just an acquaintance, they're not really going to care or give you the time of day unless you get to know them. You think about it in the personal aspect. You're not going to listen to some random dealership or random person at a dealership trying to sell you a car. You're more likely to buy a car if you actually know the guy who owns the dealership, or the person who works at the dealership, because they're not going to try to hurt you in buying a car. You know what I'm saying? And that's the point of getting to know them, so that you can better build that trust, so that you can share your faith with them, because that's not the easiest thing to do, but it can be if you follow these steps. But anyways, the first one is get to know them, ask those questions, find that common ground. The second one is plant the seed. And planting the seed is good, but there's some dangers in it. A lot of times when I say plant the seed, that means start having these spiritual conversations. Meaning, start talking about your faith. Start talking about who God is, or what is God. Because because not everybody you meet is going to be on the same playing field spiritually. Some people grew up in church, some people didn't, some people are really churchgoers and really involved. Some people just go on Sunday morning holidays, you know what I mean? So you gotta ease into it, but start asking them spiritual questions. Start having these spiritual conversations. But the danger is a lot of times we like to try to save the person. We like to try to Bible thump them over the head. We like to really get at them with Christian answers and Christian doctrine, and really try to drill into their head that they need a Savior and that they're bad and they need to come to a Savior who is good. And we try to drill that into their head as we're trying to plant the seed in them. But we got to realize it's not our job to save them. That's God's job. That's Christ's job. You know, how can we save someone else when we ourselves can't save us? I mean, how quickly do we fall into temptation? How quickly do we fall into sin? And yet here we are trying to save someone else, or trying to point someone else's sin out and say, hey, you're wrong, you need to do this, when we're in the same sin, or whether we still have sin in our lives. So that's the danger we can get into, is when we try to plant the seed, we try to save somebody. And we need to understand that's not our job. Our job is to plant the seed. It's like the parable of the sower in Matthew, and I think you can also find it in Luke. It talks about how the farmer, how he throws these seeds out, and as he's throwing these seeds out, it lands on the 4 different soils. One's the best soil, and then it kind of progressively gets to the very worst. And that is our job, in a sense. It's our job to spread the gospel. It's our job to throw that seed out, have those spiritual conversations, and then let it land where it may. And a lot of times it takes multiple seeds. Like if you ever talk to a farmer, they just don't put one seed in and hope it works. They put 3 or 4 in one hole and hoping that it'll grow a huge foundation and a huge bond to grow up and sprout out, and produce the fruit, or produce whatever you're trying to grow. So that's a huge key, is that it's your job to have those conversations. It's your job to witness to them. It's your job to share your testimony. It's your job to share with them, but it's not your job to save them or try to save them. And I think that's the biggest deal, is when we're planting seed, it's just having those conversations. And you can literally have these conversations, spiritual conversations, anywhere. They can be in your work truck, your work vehicle, with a coworker. You can be at a gas station talking to the cashier. You can be at a grocery store. I've had a lady come up to me in Academy when I worked in Academy in Conway. She grabbed me by my necklace and started talking to me. She said, "You're a Christian?" I was like, "Yeah, please give me my necklace back, ma'am." But you can have these spiritual conversations anywhere. And I encourage you to have these spiritual conversations, because it's gonna bring out what you believe and why you believe it. Because you better darn believe. Sorry, I got allergies, my eyes itch. You better best believe, if you're trying to tell someone about Christ, they're either gonna have questions, or they're gonna have a counter attack in a sense, especially if they believe in something else. So you need to get your research, you need to get your facts straight, and then present the gospel to them. I'm not saying you have to be perfect. I'm not saying you have to have all the answers, but you do need to have at least a answer. Or I think if you don't know the answer, I think the best thing to do is be like, hey, give me some time, let me do some research, let me ask some folks, and then get back with them. Don't just be like, I don't know, and leave the conversation there. That's a huge no-no, and that opportunity to witness to that person is probably done in a sense. But anyways, it's our job to get to know them and start having those spiritual conversations and planting that seed of Christianity in them. And then the final and 4th thing is a time of listening and a time of response. So as you're having these conversations, as you're asking these questions, it is very important to stop and truly listen to what they are saying. Look them in the eye, and then even to a point of repeating back what they are saying to you, so that they know that not only are you listening, but you understand what they're saying, or you're trying to better understand what they're saying as you're repeating back what they said to you. And then once you figure out why they believe in what they believe, it's time for your response. A great tool or a great response to witnessing is sharing personal experiences, sharing your testimony, sharing something that is personal to you that you have seen God work in and through your life. For example, this past year we went to Camp Perrin in Perrin, Arkansas, and the Lord worked in a lot of different ways. Three real quick. One kid who grew up without both his parents in the household, and he struggled quite a bit. He's actually graduating from Bryant High, and he's come up. He's challenged me in my faith. We've had some very spiritual conversations, and during that time of camp, he really felt the call, and he now knows that he is called into ministry. He doesn't know exactly what kind of ministry he is called into, but he knows he has a calling on his life to share the gospel with others, and that's pretty darn cool. It really is. And then another kid, he's the 9th grader, I believe, and he never speaks hardly. He went from sitting into the corner to finally start being a cohesive with the group, starting to be involved in the group. And during camp, there's a time of response, and this kid gets up who never speaks, who's very to himself, very independent. He gets up and he shares why he goes to camp, why he's at camp. It was to make new friends, make his dad happy, and learn more about Christ. A kid who doesn't speak on any Wednesday gets up in front of probably 200 kids and adults and says this. That is only because the Lord has worked in and through him. And then another girl, she's an 8th grader, I think maybe going to 9th. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And she gets up during this time, and she feels called to missions, or to be a missionary. And that's only because the Lord worked in and through her life. And when we start sharing those personal experiences, it's going to do a lot more. It's going to have a lot more meaning, it's going to have a better effect on that person, because it's something that truly happened to you. It's something that's true, and like, they can't tell you that you were wrong. They weren't there. They didn't go through that experience with you, but you did, and the Lord led you through that experience and through that opportunity to share others, to tell with others. And I think that's going to be huge. And then finally, sharing your testimony, sharing what the Lord has done with you and has done in and through your life, and sharing your testimony. This is the keys to sharing your testimony. It's where you were before Christ, how you met Christ, and then where you are now. Meaning how you were in sin, you met with the Lord, and how the Lord has changed you, and forever you are His. And that's how you share your testimony. I was in sin, I met Christ, here I am now serving with the Lord, and serving in His name, kind of deal. So those are the 3 steps, or those are the 3 keys to witnessing: is get to know them, plant that seed, and have that time of listening and response. I love you guys, and I'll see you next week.